Greetings! I'm really excited to be a part of this Tarot Together group. Thank you so much, Annie, for starting this. I think everybody else joins me in saying it's really an exciting new concept for a lot of us, especially those of us who have been studying tarot for a large part of our lives. It's always been a solitary activity for us. I taught myself tarot reading. I've never had any. I've had a few experiences with some things at some spirit fairs where people were showing me some of new ways of reading or new kinds of decks that they were introducing. So that was some group experiences. But as far as studying the tarot and thinking about what it is that we use tarot for, I've really never had the opportunity to share my opinions and my experiences with other tarot readers. So I'm very, very excited to be here. My name is Rebecca, by the way. I guess it says that on my little thing. Some of you may know me from YouTube. I'm the Good Wife on YouTube. So I'm sorry that I'm a little late coming to this. I wanted to respond to your prompts that you've been giving, but I was a little late. By the time I get to reading Facebook often, it's pretty late at night. I'm in the West Coast, so I'm a little behind some of you in the time difference, and you're all long in bed, so I don't think about really replying. I take my time reading, and sometimes I don't feel like replying too much at that time of the night. So anyway, I thought I would make a really short video if I can. I'll try to make it short and just answer a few of your questions, and from now on I'll try to respond to the prompts as they happen and not let them sneak up on me so bad. So I have some notes that I wanted to check with to make sure that I hit the points that you have talked about so far. My intro into the tarot and my beginning tarot experiences, I think you asked in the very beginning. My introduction to the tarot formally, I should back up. I went to school. I was a high school student during the late 60s. I graduated in 1970. And in those times, from the time I was in junior high, like from the mid-60s on, was a time when everybody was really into the paranormal. We were into reading, we would have sleepovers and we would have seances, and people had crystal balls, and people had, and we played with tarot cards, but we didn't really take it seriously, I have to say. I mean, we took it seriously as you take things seriously when you're 15, but as far as a tool, a magical tool or a spiritual tool, we did not take it so seriously. But when I was a senior in high school, a friend of mine asked me to go with her to have her cards read. She was going to a tarot reader to have her cards read, and she wanted me to go for moral support. And I went with her, not knowing where I was going, and went into this was a small town, mind you, went into a home, and there, sitting in the home, was somebody that I did know very well. I knew him as he was a very prominent singer, vocalist in our church, in our local church. I was a part of the choir, he was a part of the choir. This tarot thing was a secret life as far as I knew. I never knew him in this way, and I was sort of fascinated. I thought, oh, this will be fun. And then the longer we were there and he actually read her cards, it blew me away, because he knew stuff, I thought, that there was no way he could have known. He knew stuff that to this day I'm really, I get chills. I get chills when I think about it, because it was such an important event that it really turned my way of thinking into, this is something we do when we're messing around with our friends, into something this is something that's real. This is something that is useful. This is something that I might want to get into. So I bought my first set of tarot cards, my first deck of cards. I believe I was still in college. I was either still in school or I was just married, because my deck is a 1972 deck which was the year I was married. And it was actually another funny story. I might have mentioned this before. I never really gave it much thought. It was called the Tarot. Here's the booklet that it came from. It was called the Tarot. It didn't really have much of a name to it other than that. And so I've had it since 1972. And this was the deck I first learned to read. And this is the deck that I keep here on my reading table here in my parlor. This is where I do my reading. I'm going to put my glasses on so I can really see what I'm doing. So you have to excuse me. But anyway, this deck has been with me since 1972. And when I do readings at home, this is the deck that I use. And this is, I thought it was a Rider-Waite. I guess I just thought, because as I learned more about the tarot, I became familiar with the imagery in the tarot, in the Rider-Waite, of course, as you do. And my imagery was really pretty much the same. My colors were a little different, as you can see. Maybe you can see. My colors are a little different, but I just thought it was because it was an older version. And a couple of years ago, I was in this is how observant I guess we are about things that are around us all the time. We just don't pay attention anymore to details. They're just always there. I was at a friend's shop. She has a shop down in San Juan Capistrano, and I was just visiting her one time and went in, stopped in, and we were talking about tarot. She had some cards out, and she asked me what kind of a deck I had, and I looked at her deck, which was the Rider-Waite, and I went, well, you know, I always thought I had a Rider-Waite, but I guess I'm not sure if I do. So I went home and looked, and in the book, it's actually called a hoi polloi, which is actually, I did some research on it, was a knockoff on the Rider-Waite. Apparently, in 1972 or 3, around that time, the U.S. Games, I guess, began to really take the copyright laws very seriously, and there was cease and desist against all these other companies. But I think before that, you know, people just stole stuff from each other all the time. I had a knockoff guitar too at the same time, which turned out to be a collector's item later. But anyway, it's called a hoi polloi, but for all intents and purposes, it is a Rider-Waite, and this is the one that I use here in my home all the time. Okay, this is my absolute favorite deck. This deck has been with me, like I said, my entire adult life. It's sort of some of the cards are a little bent, but they still work, you know. I love it. I think I mentioned before, it sort of sometimes still sort of smells like college to me. But anyway, this is the one that I use in my home, and I'll get into that in just a minute. First, I'm going to go down the list of questions because I don't want to forget. I have a tendency to get off on tangents. Why the tarot? What do I use it for? Well, of course, now I do use it to get clarification, of course, like anybody else does in life and things. But one tool that I find it very useful for is I am a very lucid dreamer. I dream, my dreams drive me crazy, to be honest. Sometimes I dream, I feel like I dream constantly. I feel like I dream things over and over again. I have a tendency to I even know when I'm dreaming them, like, oh no, here's a repeat, you know. I get, what is the point of this dream? I have dead people in my dream, which I'll do something on my other channel on that, because that's sort of another interesting thing. But I just have, you know, my dreams sometimes just really annoy me. What is the point? Why am I dreaming this over and over again? I started keeping a journal on my dreams, but more importantly, I started doing a 3-card draw every day. When I have those times, particularly when I have the times that the dreaming is bothersome, I will use my cards to see what in the world is happening with me that I'm dreaming this constantly. I found that very useful tool for me. I've been reading privately. I have not read professionally most of this my life. I have read for friends, of course. Like my cards, you know, like anybody else, things come and go. I've read for friends, and I just started not too terribly long ago reading professionally. I do read professionally now, but I didn't for years, you know. I read for friends, and I really enjoy it. I really have always enjoyed it. Felt a really strong connection to the tarot. I'm a very tactile person. I like things where I use my hands. And growing up, our family played cards all the time, so I like the idea of having cards in my hand and shuffling the cards and dealing with cards and moving cards around. And it's just a very comfortable activity for me. So it's something that I find is a very important part of my life. I find it very comforting that I have this part of my life that is a regular part of my life. Okay, so let's see. What versions of Rider-Waite do I have? Well, I already mentioned my hoi polloi, and I also have a few others, Rider-Waite. I started a while back. Though I was teaching some friends tarot, or we sort of were doing tarot reading as a group activity with some of my friends, and I didn't really want, which I'll talk about later, to use these cards for that activity. So I got another deck. This is just a pocket edition of the Rider-Waite that I used for that, for people that sort of, you know, it's a good teaching tool for people that want to learn, or they really want to participate in the reading. They want to, you know, the process. They want to be a really active participant in the reading. I made up this deck of these, which I have written some keywords. I don't know if you can see. I've written some keywords around here, around the card. So that, you know, if anybody knows, there's so many keywords that go to the cards. It's sometimes so much symbolism. Sometimes it's hard. So it gives you somewhere to start out. Okay, so I keep these here. I don't use these as reading normally. I would not read for people using this deck normally. Like I said, unless it was a situation where somebody really wanted to participate. I have a couple of friends, particularly, who really, I think, are trying to learn and really want to participate, and so we use this deck when that happens. And they're kept, by the way, well, I'm not there yet. I'll go there. Another deck I have is, I said I started to do readings. When I first started to do readings, well, towards the beginning, anyway, I was asked to come to a party and somebody was having a 50th birthday party, and they had a gypsy theme, a bohemian gypsy theme, and wouldn't it be fun to have a card reader? When I thought that'd be fine. So I took cards, but I did not want to take this deck, my hoi pollois, I did not want to take there. So I got a deck specifically to use for this purpose, to take out of the house for what I'm going to read. And I'll show you how I keep these in a minute. But this is a pocket tarot, a universal weight pocket tarot that I think they're pretty much all this. I mean, they're so close. They're close to each, you know. Anyway, the imagery, of course, is the same as in here. The hoi polloi, there's a few cards that are a little different, have some things missing. Coloring's differing, but same imagery, of course. Then I also have a few other decks, you know. I just want to mention, I have these for different reasons. And then I have other decks, I might as well say now, that, you know, we use tarot for other things. One thing, I know some of you may know that tarot was used for games during the Renaissance. And if you know me from my channel, you might know that I'm a medieval enthusiast. And when I'm out with my medieval friends, we often, especially, you know, Cambian events and things, we will play games with the tarot cards, but I would never play games with my tools, my tarot cards that are my tools. So I have another. So I bought a deck of another kind of cards. This is a Hanson Roberts tarot, which has really good imagery for that period of time. Would appeal to those. So I have those for just games. These again, never games. This is only games. I would never attempt to read these cards. These are only used for games. And then of course I have other decks. We all come up with other decks that we sort of collect. I'm such a I'm a victim of habit. You know, we are, and I love my cards so much that I was hesitant to buy other cards, but I do like the imagery in some of the other ones, and particularly now that I am reading for others, I want to be able to bring in other cards that might speak to them maybe more. So I'm starting to use some other cards in addition to them. I don't think I will, you know, I'm not sure about, I'm not at the point where I want to do a reading, I don't think, just with another deck, another kind of deck. So I was glad that you were using the Rider-Waite for this group, because, you know, the symbolism is just so, it's so vivid. And you know what else I find, when you start talking to people, when you're doing a reading, and if you can actually talk to them about the symbols, you know, in the deck. Okay, I had to cut there because somebody came to my door and actually came to my window, which that's just creepy to me, and I don't. So I'm sorry. I had to cut it. I'm back. What I was talking about was I like the imagery of the Rider-Waite. We're going to get into this later, I'm sure, when we get into cards, because it makes sense if you can look at, if I can say to somebody when I'm doing a reading and show them something like, here's the, if I can see it, it's the Eight of Swords, and if I can say to somebody, you feel like you have no way out, you're trapped and you feel like you have no way out, but you know, you just don't see that you have no way out right now. If I could say that to somebody and they could actually see the imagery on the card, it is very helpful. It is very helpful. So I really like cards that have good imagery, and that's what I really love about the Rider-Waite. Okay, the question about the favorite card, least favorite card, we were talking about artwork, I guess. In the Rider-Waite, I don't really have any that I know of. Least favorite card or favorite card, I think it depends on my mood, my situation. Sometimes for periods of time, sometimes certain cards remind me of certain people. So I really like the card if it's like, you know, if it's, like I think of, often I'll think of the, let's say, the, I don't know, it's hard to say, Anyway, it's somebody that, you know, I really, really like, and it reminds me of them, or, oh, I think the King of Swords perhaps reminds me of my husband sometimes, and I think of him in the kitchen, full of passion, you know, cooking and playing the piano, doing all these things at one time, and that's sort of something that, you know, with passion, everything he does is with passion, and so sometimes that would be my favorite, you know, if I look at the art and I see him in the art, I would say that might be one of my favorites, but usually I don't think of it that way. I think of the artist symbolizing something. I have had experiences with other decks, though, where I was not too crazy about the artwork. There's another group on Facebook that I'm a part of where she was posting some images from, I think it was called Soul Cards or something. Some of those images were just a little disturbing to me for some reason. I don't know what it was. They were just, when I looked at them, my first impression was I was very uncomfortable at some of them for some reason. So I do understand what Annie was getting at when she was asking about if you feel comfortable or uncomfortable with some of the artwork. That's important. If you're going to read cards, you do have to be comfortable with the imagery that you are trying to interpret, of course. Okay. Let's see, what else? Oh, who or what do I partner with when doing a reading? Oh my, well, oh, this is one that I had to think about because, you know, some of you had such wonderful comments about this. You know, that you partner, of course, with the god and the goddess or the elementals, you know, the guardians of the elements or whatever. To be honest, I really don't think of it that way. Of course, I always depend on the god and the goddess and any spiritual guides that I might have, whether I'm aware of them or not, to let me help me to bring my most authentic self to the reading. That's very important. But I don't think of myself as working with them. You know, I'm an empath. Maybe that's a little different. I think I partner with the person I'm reading with, 100%. Even if they're not in the room with me, 100% I partner with them. I depend on them. If they're giving me bull, or they don't, you know, believe in what I'm doing, or they're trying to mislead me or misdirect me, I can't do the reading. I really depend on them being authentic as well and open as well with me. And that's part of who I am, and that's part of my abilities, I think, as a good reader, to be able to channel the cards speaking for them, not speaking for me, if that makes any sense. I don't know. Anyway, I'm excited to get into this later. I can't wait till we get into the actual cards part. This can be fun. Card feeding my decks real quick. My hoi polloi. Now, like I said, my hoi polloi has been around for a long, long, long time. I've had this for, 43 years. I don't know how many years. 43 years. So, this deck has gone with me everywhere and been used and been in and out. Of course, it was just recently that I started keeping it just here in my parlor, in this protection, because I use them all the time as a tool. Before they were part of my life, and I get them out and use them, you know, as you do. But now that I'm using them I'm a little more serious, excuse me, with my readings and things. I keep them, when I took them into service here as a serious tool for the purpose of reading for me here in this room, I did cleanse them again. I cleansed them, not cleaned them. I do not clean them. Cleanse them. Had them on my altar for a while. I really called them into service like I would call in any of my tools. I do keep them in a bag that I made for them here in this box. And they stay here in this room. And they really don't leave the room. Not that they can't, but they don't. They like here, they're comfortable here, and that's just where they stay. The ones that I use for other people, the ones that have been written on, remember? I did a cleansing on them. I called them into service. I did a spell, actually, and bound them with this cord, which is still in here. That's a protection cord, can you see? And they're in this box, and that's where they stay. These boxes I keep, but I don't store cards in here that I'm using. Cards that I am using, other cards, I do the same way. I might keep them in this way. Cards that I have not yet started to use, still in the box. I don't use them regularly, they're still in the box. The cards that I have taken, interestingly, these are the cards that I have taken, the ones that I take with me to do readings outside of my home, like when I went to that party, or when I went for SCA use. If I would take when I go to camping events, I always take this. This, interestingly, again, this pouch was my pouch from college. I used to carry all kinds of things in this pouch of my belt, if you can imagine. And this is the pouch that I take them with me, and inside the pouch is sort of my little reading kit. Sage to smudge, which you can see the candle wax from the last time I went. I smudge them with this, and then as long as it works, this is from my garden. I have them wrapped. This is just a piece of wool, actually, black wool that I have these cards wrapped in. And again, these are the Rider-Waite. These are the ones, the universal weight that came in this box. Universal weight. I don't store them in the box. This is how I keep them. This is the cloth that I would use when I was reading. I would be kept on this cloth wherever I am. I have a crystal in here too. This is my kit I carry with it that I clear the deck between readings, and also to protect, because I don't know where I am. You know where this is my rosary, and I use this more as a protection. More as a protection. I like to be safe. I like to be safe. But anyway, you'll notice here in my table here in my home, I just have this tablecloth on my table. I read right on this cloth. This room here is kept, the door is kept closed. It's a cat-free zone. They sometimes have guests in here, but I have an altar in this room, and a lot of my cupboards and things in here. So this is there's not a lot of traffic in here. You have people that are in here are only here by invitation. People and animals are only in here by invitation. So this table is my working table for reading cards or doing other things. So I do it right on the cloth. But these cards that I do take out with me, these I do have the wool to wrap them. So they have been, before I went, they get smudged real good, and then they are wrapped, and they are carefully placed in my pouch, and they're placed in my pouch with my rosary and with my crystal and with my smudge stick, and that's how I keep them. They're kept all the time that way. Okay. A few more things. Care and feeding of my deck. Well, my decks are fed by me. My hoi polloi deck is mine because it's part of me. It's been with me for most of my adult life, like I said. And I trust it because of that. Now, can others touch it? Other people have touched it, of course. In 43 years, you think nobody touched it. Of course they touched it. And I want to say, in the past, when I was younger and I used to do readings, I let people do the shuffling. I always had people, you know, they used to tell you, and I think it told you in the book, you know, the shuffle, and then have the person cut it 3 times and then put it together or whatever. I don't do that now. Oh, I don't do that now. I used to do it, and I never liked it because, not that I don't want people touching my cards. I don't mind if they touch. It's that when somebody comes for a reading or asks to do a reading, very often they're nervous. They think, I don't know, that I'm going to find out something that I'm not supposed to know or something. They get a little nervous. And I need them to be relaxed. I need them to be, you know, I have this nice table in here, and, you know, crystals and incense and candles, and I usually offer some kind of, I have some cordials in here or some tea. I have some special teas to get people to relax a little bit so that they can be open, so we can really look and see what's going on with them. I find if I give them the opportunity to shuffle or to pick a card or to cut the cards, they sometimes feel that they're too involved and it's dependent too much on them and they might mess it up. So I find it easier for me to shuffle, for me to do the shuffling. I trust myself. My cards, I trust my cards. Okay, so I don't really mind if they touch, but there's really not a lot of reason for them to touch because I'm shuffling. But of course, if we're talking about a card, I might say, you know, this because of this card, and I'll pick it up. And sometimes they'll say, can I get a closer look? And they'll want to hold it. I have no problem with that at all. There's no, I don't mind that at all. I do not put my cards back in order. I loved it, Annie, that you said that you put your cards back in order after readings and things. That is so what I would expect you to do. I love that. You're so, oh, you're so what we want to try to be that we can't be. We're just, I just couldn't do that. I'm just a little messier or something, more casual. I don't know. You're so, I just idolize you. I love you so much. But anyway, I love that you said that. I don't do that. I don't do that. If you have seen any of my videos in the past, you might have seen I did one on my tools, and I did say that how much I like used things. I do like used things. I like things that people gave me, and I like to find things, but the one thing I do not like is used cards. I would not buy a used deck. I might buy a used deck of cards if I was going to use it for teaching, or just for, you know, maybe the imagery, to maybe try to get somebody to identify with the imagery of a certain card. But if it's something that I'm going to use to read from, I want it to have my energy and not anybody else's. I don't. For games, yeah, like this game. This one card that I used for games might even have been a used deck when I bought it. But we just play games with it. Like I said, we do not read that. Anything that I'm going to read, I want it to be new. It starts out with me. How do I break it in? How do I get my juju on it? I keep it with me. I keep it. This deck that I carried around, that I said I carried around here for reading outside of my home, I kept this. I shuffled it. I kept it beside me. I carried it around from room to room. I put it on my altar. I would shuffle it some more. I would play with it. I would, you know. Annie said she takes and looks at each card individual, like she's almost reading each card in the deck, which I liked that she said that was an interesting idea. I don't feel like I need to do that. Again, I'm more of a tactile person, just holding them on my hands, handling them, shuffling them, is important to me. It works enough. It works well enough for me. So anyway, I hope this didn't go too long. I'm going to edit it because of the guy at the window. But anyway, again, thank you so much, Andy, for letting us be a part of the group, and I can't wait to see what the rest of you have to say. I wish you blessings.